Hare Krishna, dear watchers. We are speaking now from Bliss from Slovakia. We have Ramachandra Prabhu here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Who visited us from Canada. But before that, meanwhile that, he was in Israel. He was doing some preaching in Israel. So I was just wondering, Prabhuji, why did you choose specifically the Israel? Because there are so many countries around the world. Even I think there are even more peaceful countries than Israel, because I know Israel is kind of like dangerous, and there are so many, as I heard, of course, from other sources, they are kind of like terrorists, and it's not a very comfortable place. So I was wondering, why did you choose specifically the Israel?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for showing interest. Yeah, so that's actually was the main trigger, that I was thinking that, this place Israel is it is indeed dangerous, and in actuality what happens there, that statistically speaking, the average 7 years there is a war. Actually there's always a war from every major town. If you take Haifa, Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, the 3 major cities, 10 to 15 minutes drive from these locations, what happens is that there is a war zone, there is a border, there are terrorist threats, and so on. So it's a very hectic place, like everyone can see it in the news and so on. And why it actually was a trigger to my inspiration is that, I was thinking, if there will be some instance of Hare Krishna or Krishna consciousness which will be broadcasted in such areas, such war zones and so on, that will be a great glory to our spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Krishna, because the place is already broadcast, it's already on the news, and everything is very emphasized there. So that was one of the inspirations. I remember that Srila Prabhupada, he sent few devotees, Gargamuni Prabhu, Brahmananda, I think they had few assistants, and they went, for example, to West Pakistan. Although I think at that time West Pakistan was much more hectic than Israel today in some areas. Srila Prabhupada, he very much appreciated the devotees that were willing to go to these difficult places, of war and quarrel, to preach Krishna consciousness. Because first of all, the people which are in the suffering condition, they are the most needed of Krishna consciousness. Like one of the devotees actually who surrenders to Krishna, like Chatur, the 4 types of devotees that surrender to Krishna, Krishna says. One of them is in distress. So I thought, maybe out of all the people in the world, maybe these unfortunate people who are all the time in the war and quarreling in between themselves, maybe they will be a bit more receptive than in the West. To tell you about the situation in Canada, because everything is more or less nice and arranged for the general mass to just live peacefully. People many times, they forget actually that ultimately we're all gonna die at some point, sooner or later. So many times when we meet people on the streets there, they don't show too much interest to the philosophy and to getting out of the clutches of birth, death, old age and disease. So there I experienced many times that just because I was dressed in like a spiritual dress, the dhoti and tilak, shaven head and everything, many times random people from the streets, they would just stop me and would ask me about very nice, very important things, such as the aim of life, God, religion, why there is quarrel, why who ride, the Palestinians, the Israelis, the Jews, the Christians, the Muslims. and I was able to make many contacts like that. So I consider that very very fruitful ground. Actually, if you take some of Srila Prabhupada's statements in regards to war, so I think a very famous one, I don't remember, is it a memory or it's stated somewhere, anyway, somewhere it's circumambulating amongst the devotees that Prabhupada said that after the war the preaching will be very nice, and even when there was, I think they were taking devotees to Vietnam, right, in 66, 67, devotees were being called to join the warfield. So Prabhupada, he never actually rejected that idea that the devotees will be taken to the army. He said, oh, very nice, you can go and preach there Krishna consciousness, in Vietnam to the soldiers, the most needed. So this type of war situation, because it's always there, I think it makes people a bit more receptive to dealing with death and things like that. Yes. Do you have any questions in this regard too?
Mm-hmm. So as we learned, so people actually are not so much closed actually in Israel because of the situation you described. So maybe they are more
they're sectarian everywhere else. Everywhere else, anywhere people are in a bodily conception of life, and maybe there again because of this war situation, people are a bit more into themselves, I guess, because they just want to survive. And but in the same time, I couldn't really see a big difference. There would be many times I would think this person, he will not give a donation or he will not be polite and so on, but it turned the other way around. Actually, in one instance in Jerusalem, I was sitting and chanting my second day there, and I was sitting and chanting for a few minutes, and suddenly, all of a sudden, 8 or 9 religious Orthodox Jewish people, old in their age, with long beards, white beards, they circumambulated me, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, that's it, the Harinam is over. But surprisingly, they just took the donation box and everyone gave some donation, and they offered their respects with the folded hands, and they continued. So I learned a lot actually from there about this, despite my own judgmental nature, and others actually, that you never know. Everyone is like our philosophy, right? Mama Ivamsha Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. That everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. That's that's actually the core of the preaching. You cannot preach if you don't at least accept it theoretically. If you still think that yes, everyone is part and parcel of Krishna, but these people should be discriminated and not be explained what is Krishna consciousness, then the preaching is failure from the beginning. So there is a nice option to actually test it, because all our religious heritage in the West comes from Israel. You have the Jews, they're from Israel. You have the Christians, they're from Israel. You have the Muslims, they're from Israel, right? And they have all their holy places in the Middle East. So especially my experience with Jerusalem was very, very nice, because I was there. I had the most constant Harinam there, 3 or 4 days even of every day 5 to 6 hours Harinam in the center of the city, Yafo Street. And you get to meet so many different people from many religions, many views like that. Many preachers too, especially there, many people who go there to preach, and you get actually to experience that ultimately, if you, of course, it depends on you too. You cannot be a nonsense and present the philosophy wrongly, but if you present it in a nice, palatable way, Krishna or God, Prabhupada actually, he said that in Israel specifically there was an instruction that you can use the term God. You don't have to say Krishna because people are very sectarian, but you can use the term God. So I was just using, most of the time I would say God. You have to be God conscious. You have to love God. God is not a monopoly. God is not, under any particular religion. God is beyond religion. So everyone, all the sane people agreed. Actually, I didn't have any negative replies or experience. The worst that would happen, the people, they would just ask me about my religious background, either I'm Jewish, Christian, or Muslim, and usually I would just ignore it because this is not our platform. We're not propagating any religious method, but we want to inspire people to love God. That's the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We actually posted a nice quote on in bliss.org about this. You read?
Not yet, to be honest.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, so people are sectarian, but actually, if you use this term God, they are kind of receptive. So that means that they have some feeling, good feeling for
that's actually
spirituality.
What I experienced a lot too. That people, for them, God there is not just a belief or, like if you in Canada, I heard there is like a 80% atheist in Canada. 80. Wow. Yeah, 80% or 70, something very high, a very high percentage. And there, I never met anyone who would refuse to the idea of God, or you would not even call it a belief. Like many people, they would ask me, so what is this thing on your head, on your forehead? And I would say, well, this is the mark that establishes that everything belongs to God. So it reminds to everyone, and including to me, myself, that the body belongs to God and everything belongs to God. So, and many people, they would reply right away in a very assertive way that, yes, of course, it's a fact. You didn't know that? Why do you have to put something on your head? So, I would tell them it's done to remind us, because sometimes we do forget that everything belongs to God. That's why we quarrel, of course. So, yeah, people, they, somehow or other, of course, it's when we speak about religion there, it's known as Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, and they all indulge in, meat eating, and they all have a very violent background of, crusades and so many things. But ultimately, the idea of God is situated, and because it's so fundamental and so basic and factual, everyone there is just taking God, and it's not taboo to speak about God there. So this is for us as a Krishna conscious society and preachers, this is a very nice ground, because at least from my preaching, in the West, many times I will not say waste time, but many times you have to many meetings to go through, the fact that there is God and establish God as factual. It's not just a belief, because, if you listen to Srila Prabhupada's lectures, many times Prabhupada, when they would ask him about his belief and the belief of Krishna and the Hindu belief, Prabhupada would immediately kick it out. No, there's no, right? He says something like this. It's not a question of belief. It's knowledge. It's scientific, it's factual. Why should I believe in something that doesn't exist, right? So it saves a lot of time. People, they very much embracing the idea of God there for many thousands of years. So then our journey with them would be probably introducing God as a person, right? Because For them, God is impersonal. Yeah, but this is too. It's very very convenient specifically in this time, and because Lord Chaitanya blessed us with the holy name. So anyone who hears the holy name of God, knowingly or unknowingly, he's going to develop love for Krishna, for the supreme personality of God, and not just God as the, the sky or the sun or the energy, So yeah, the great potential. Many people actually, they ask me, so where is the temple? Is there a Hare Krishna temple? Is there? So as we know, Srila Prabhupada's former movement, the National Society for Krishna Consciousness, it has some sort of branch there, like that. But we want to bring something actually fresh. We want to introduce the movement, the Hare Krishna movement, on behalf of Srila Prabhupada directly, which means that every single one of us, being Srila Prabhupada's representative, encourages everyone to take advantage of, Srila Prabhupada's legacy, Srila Prabhupada's books, Srila Prabhupada's books, precepts, and be directly connected to the parampara of our sampradaya. And up until now, actually, there were no attempts to do that. There was an attempt in the 70s. I think Kulak Shekhar Prabhu, he went there, and he went away very quickly. There was some violent attack on his group in Jerusalem, so he was sent back. And later on, our dear godbrother, dear Govinda Prabhu, he was facilitating some mission there in the 80s. So for the last, since the 70s, 50 years, 40 years, no one actually was preaching on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. So we as Bliss, I think there is a great potential to establish a temple and broadcast holy names, and if we leave a mark there, and just like Prabhupada, he went to Russia and immediately predicted that the war will be finished in 20 years. Sorry, the Cold War will be finished in 20 years, and it happened so, right? By 1989, 1990, USSR was dismantled. So if we go there and we actually do profusely book distribution, chanting of the holy names, and establish peace through this change of heart. This is actually why there's quarrel, because there's not enough glorification of God and His pure devotees. It's you remember what it is?
Maybe you can remind what.
Yeah, it's an introduction in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Delhi edition, at least the one that I read. So we establish glorification of Srila Prabhupada, the pure devotee, and God, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's going to create spiritual atmosphere. Rameshwara actually, he was asking Prabhupada on a train to Allahabad many interesting questions, and one of them was about this Third World War, that how can it be avoided? And Prabhupada many times, if you read this conversation, many times he would say, no, it cannot be avoided, no, there must be a war, because they have weapons and so on. So their weapons have to be used. And in a similar way, but ultimately he told Rameshwaram that yes, the war can be avoided if there is a profuse propagation of the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If there is profuse book distribution, profuse Harinam, then the war can actually be avoided, because there's going to be an atmosphere of peace and tranquility. So there's something that's going to help everyone, and especially there, if we make a mark there in such a place, prominent place on the news and media, immediately everyone's going to chant Hare Krishna like that.
Maybe I have one last question. It will become like short. So as I know, you were living also in Russia, in Israel for some time, and also a couple years in Canada. So actually you have experienced the living in eastern and western part. So how would you describe, like really shortly, by a few words, what are the main pillars or main characteristics for Eastern world and Western world? What do you think? I mean, within the spirituality or the perception?
Well, I'll answer like Prabhupada. Prabhupada says there is no question of East and West. You know, it's like wet stool and dry stool.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe we can get more elaborate about it more over the next interview.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for watching our video.
Hare Krishna.
So this is Ramachandra Prabhu. We're gonna have the next session in next time. We're gonna have some more interesting questions also. So please stay with us. Give some comments. Give some messages to this video. You can share it. No, actually you should share it because it's very important mission. So everybody can be part of this mission simply by sharing this video even. So.
Yeah, and if anyone has a question, particularly to this preaching in the Middle East, Israel, Palestine, whatever, you can post the comments down below, and yeah, I'll be really glad to answer them. We're gonna make like back to Philip Prabhu explain. We're gonna have a few more meetings, a few more interviews like that. So feel free.
Prabhuji, thank you very much for sharing. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.